In this next section, 2.2, Albl looks at some atheistic worldviews or atheistic traditions and then questions if they're as rational as they assume they are. The first one is rationalism. And rationalists tend to define knowledge as scientific knowledge of the physical world. And I think reason is something that you can demonstrate logistically, empirically, mathematically, and specifically. So something I could share with you, show the results, prove it to you in definitive terms. Now, the problem with that is that it's not really how knowledge works, right? I think Ratzinger did a nice job of demonstrating how in our everyday knowledge we use a lot of faith, right? Like if this was true, if you really limited your knowledge to things you could demonstrate scientifically or mathematically, you wouldn't get very far in life. You know, what would you do? Let's say you had some kind of pain, you had some kind of pain in your stomach or something. You didn't know what it was. You're going to go to the doctor. They don't know what it is. They're going to send you for an MRI, right? What are you going to do? Like, say, well, no, you know, let me research MRIs a little. Let me go home and build one myself, and then when I fully understand it, you know, or if you can explain to me exactly how an MRI works, then I'll get in that thing, and then I will accept your diagnosis. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to trust the person who because you think they know what they're talking about because of the things that you do know and the faith of others and the results others have had from getting MRIs. You know, you wouldn't get very much done every day. I mean, how would you drive to work? You know, or would you get on a train? Let's say you're taking a train to work. Would you have to walk the track ahead of time to make sure that the track is properly laid? You want to make sure that there's no holes in the track. You want to demonstrate it and send back a report so that you can then board the train. No, people have faith. You're going to have faith that the train's working because the train's worked before, and you have faith in the whatever authority is upkeeping the tracks, right? It's just not the way people work. You know, people don't limit their knowledge and their which is an act of faith, to what they can demonstrate specifically and empirically, right? Second of all, when we look at the rationalist definition of faith, that's not what we mean by faith. That's not the kind of faith that we're talking about in the Catholic theological tradition, right? We're talking about belief in something that we can't prove definitively, but we have good cause. Belief in something that's not irrational, right? We have evidence, right? We have the signs that we talked about with personal experience and moral law and even reason itself, right? So again, this idea of a blind adherence to faith as a blind adherence to doctrine, that's not what we mean. That is not what religious faith is if you look at the Catholic tradition. Now, again, I understand where these people are coming from, because you do see people, right, in our very country, you probably even maybe some Catholics at times, but you do see people applying faith in this way. Sometimes people in an extreme way, where they're actually see faith as a way to hold on to some idea, even when evidence shows contrary, right? So, like, I had a friend once who told me that God put dinosaurs in the ground. God let the devil put dinosaurs in the ground to try to tempt people from believing in the Bible. Well, I mean, that kind of faith is a blind adherence to doctrine. It didn't seem rational to me that God would create a universe and then create people and then move those people to write a book that contradicts the universe that he created, and then hold people accountable for not believing the book. Like, why should they believe the book instead of, the other things that he created? So, again, in defense of these people, they're not irrational, right? They're just coming at it from an angle that they're not seeing the fullness of what we mean by faith. So, please be nice to the atheist. Remember, the reason for studying theology is to learn more about God, and as we learn more about God, we learn more about how to love one another. Materialism believes that the material world is the only reality. Now, again, we have a problem right there if we're going to talk about the use of reason, because you can't prove, right, that the transcendent doesn't exist. How do you prove that something that you can't demonstrate empirically, that you can't demonstrate using the scientific method? How are you going to prove that it doesn't exist? You can't prove that it doesn't exist. All right, so on that level, we have a basic question for the materialists in the first place. Right? Aren't they actually using faith when they say there is no transcendent, there is no God, right? Maybe they haven't experienced these things, but other people seem to. So you can't disprove that. And they also tend to see faith as a way that people try to explain things they don't understand. Well, again, they do have a point there. That is part of faith, right? That it explains the meaning of things to us. But again, that doesn't mean it's irrational. That doesn't mean that there's no reason to think that. People can see the way things look in their lives. People can share in the wisdom and experience of others, and it can help us put things together, right? The same way that a materialist might put together the physical structure of the DNA helix. There's not one person just sitting there figuring it out themselves. You're having a bunch of experience from different people being shared and fitting with each other. So the idea of faith just as being a way that people are using things that they don't understand or understand things incorrectly, it's not really a full or fair use of the word. Finally, determinism, which is a subset of materialism, and this basic idea is that since the material world is all that exists, everything is happening according to the strict laws of cause and effect within nature, and therefore there's no free will. Again, that kind of is assuming a full knowledge of the physical laws of cause and effect. Right? Does anybody really understand, quantum mechanics, the way that these physical structures are interacting with each other? Does anyone really understand that stuff in a full way, that they can say that that will isn't part of it, or that there's no intentional choosing of a different variable or something in there? Again, maybe if you're looking at, hey, I'm a person who runs the show from their own ego, yeah, but what if free will is an act of consciousness on submolecular level? What if it's a part and parcel of existence itself, right? Again, you can't assume that you know how it works. They're kind of doing what they're accusing the religious people of doing. They're using the way that they don't understand how free will works to say it doesn't exist, right? It's kind of that flip faith thing there. They should be open to the possibility that it does exist, and maybe that it is expressed in the physical laws of cause and effect. Maybe they just don't understand how that works yet, right? Finally, with free will, it's something that people experience every day. The determinists themselves, they also experience it. So again, it's kind of like a fundamentalism to say, this is something I experience every day, but since I think that there is only material things in the universe, then it must be not real. Like I must be imagining this, or it must be an illusion, right? Because it doesn't fit with my idea. So again, kind of like the biblical fundamentalist who's saying, evolution of species didn't happen because I believe in the literal 6-day creation story. They're kind of saying, hey, free will doesn't happen because I believe that material reality is the only reality. You're making certain faith assumptions there. It's not that rational. Finally, there's kind of an elephant in the room when it comes to any system that limits knowledge to empirical evidence, things that you can clearly perceive. And that is the assumption that your thoughts, your perception, your experience of the world has any relation to reality at all. Yeah, that's a little heady. But it is a truth that we have to admit philosophically. How do I know that what I'm experiencing right now is real? I could be dreaming it, right? I could be in the Matrix, right? I could be part of some simulation, right? We don't have any way to prove that anything is going on outside of our experience. Now, when I was talking with this with a friend of mine, he says, well, you know when someone punches you in the face, then you know that they're real. I said, no, I wouldn't know that. I would know that I was experiencing getting punched in the face in my experience, right? So the idea of this is not to send you down the path of extreme solipsism. The point of this is not to freak anybody out or have anyone try to test the reality of the reality. Please don't. The point is that the only way that we know that our experience has a relation to reality, the only way we know that we're not dreaming and this is real, is through faith. So faith is far from some way to cover up our ignorance. Faith, in the way that we understand it, is far from the opposite of reason. Faith in everyday life and in the Catholic tradition is a source of knowledge for things that we can't prove, but we have evidence for. So when we take a further look into reason in the Catholic tradition, we can say some very important things. Let's look at the Gospel according to John, the first 3 verses. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. So the author of the Gospel according to John is explaining the pre-existence of Jesus Christ. Christ before he became a human being, in the theological sense. In the philosophical sense, we have profound statements about reason here, though. Right? The word that is translated word in English, right, as in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. That is a translation of the Greek word logos, which doesn't mean the sounds or letters, the name of something. It means the meaning or the reason of something. Right? So you could read it, in the beginning was the meaning, and the meaning was God, and the meaning was God. Right? In the beginning was the reason, and the reason was God, and the reason was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through meaning, and without reason, nothing was made that was made. You with me? So we see God as the source and creator of reason. We see God creating the world through reason. And because everything is created through reason, with reason as a source, everything is reasonable. The universe itself is reasonable, it's meaningful, it's open to human understanding. We connect with it and its source God through reason. So reason is far from something that disrupts our faith. Reason is the base in many ways of our faith. Reason is a way that we can know God and share in the divine life of God. It's one of the ways that we're made in the image and likeness of God.